and Greg Cobbs here from RTTI. Today we're going to build a speaker box for this four-door car here.
So the first thing we're going to do is measure up the trunk and see how much space we have available to work with. So we're going to measure our maximum dimensions that we can get in this car, and then we'll work it backwards and see how well that works with the woofer. For this enclosure, we're going to do a single P3 in a sealed box. So I'll measure the height here. Looks like we have a maximum height of 15 inches. Measure our width. Because this has the raised up from the shock towers, we're going to go inside of that. Got about 30 inches there. And this customer didn't want to give up a whole lot of depth. So we're going to go about 13 to 14 inches deep into this area. There's some angle on the seat. We want to know how much angle there is. Be very similar to doing like a pickup truck box. We'll take a right angle square, leave it square against the floor and tight against the top of the seat, and I'll measure that difference, which in this car happens to be 5 inches. We're going to build this enclosure today out of 3/4 inch MDF. So what we measured in the car was the outside dimensions of the enclosure. So I'm going to subtract 1.5 inches for the layers of wood on the front and back, top and bottom, and the sides from each of the dimensions so we can figure out the internal volume. One cubic foot equals 1,728 cubic inches. So we have 1,728 divided by 13.5 inches, which is our height, divided by 13.5 inches, which is our width, equals 9.5. That's how deep our box needs to be. Plus 1.5 inches for the wood. So our overall box dimension is going to be 15 high, 15 wide, and 11 inches deep. Here at RTTI, we have a set of woofer templates. These are an outside shape of all the speakers so we can test and fit and see where they're going to fit in cars. We have these available on the website currently for our shallow mount woofers. So this is a full-size P3 12-inch. This is the shape it would be on the outside. So we can overlay it here in our box and see how big it's going to be. We can see that there's no clearance issues. The back's not going to bump into anything. It's going to get good venting. So we know this box is good to go. This is a very handy tool. It's something that you should be using in your shop, and if you need to, you can just make them out of wood. We've done them for lots of series of woofers here at Rockford. So now we have our overall shape of the box. We decided because it fits in the trunk, we don't want to lose that extra 5 inches of area. So what we're going to do is we're going to subtract 2.5 inches from the top, and we're going to add 2.5 inches to the bottom, and that's going to give us that 5 inches of angle. We're going to go ahead and measure the dimensions here and lay out a cut sheet on the wood. We are using a Rockford Fosgate woofer, and in our recommended enclosure volumes, they've already taken into account the displacement of the driver. So as you can see, we have our height, which is 13.5. That accounts for the 3/4 wood on the top and the bottom, equals 15. Our width is going to end up being 13.5, same with the wood, and our depth, the average is 9.5 between the top and the bottom because we subtracted 2.5 and we added 2.5 to hit that angle on the back of the seat. So we'll figure out that angle quickly. We've got a nice protractor here. We can lay it across the bottom, lay it up on the angle, about 19 degrees.
Alright, so here we are at the table saw. Now, one of the most important things to know about a table saw is that it is probably one of the most dangerous tools in the shop, so you want to be very careful with it. It's important to have a nice firm base, a really nice solid rip fence to keep your cut straight. And then on our saw, this is a Delta Unisaw, and it's got an over-the-blade blade guard. Now, you know, in this video, you're going to see us lift the guard so you can see us cutting the wood and stuff and when we do the angles, but it's important to remember that you want to keep all the safety devices in place to keep your saw safe. And of course, the most important thing in any shop are safety glasses. So, you know, you want to protect yourself. You don't want to get anything in your eye or, you know, get hurt that way. So we always use safety glasses in the shop. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead. We've got our cut sheet ready. So we'll go ahead and cut the wood down for our speaker box here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to set the saw up to cut this angle. And just to give you a quick tip and how we do it, because we only want to set the angle up once, is we'll set it up, cut this angle, and since it's already set up for that, we'll go ahead and cut the back piece and the top piece at the same time. Okay, so we're going to set the table saw up to cut the 19-degree angle that we need to cut our back and top piece. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this angle gauge finder from Wixie. Now this is a much more accurate way to determine the angle of your blade. It's much more accurate than using the angle gauge that's on most table saws. So the way this works is you want to zero it out, okay, on your table saw surface, and then we'll go ahead and take it, and it's got little magnets on it. So we'll stick it to the side of the saw, and we'll turn it, or we'll zero it out here because we want 19 degrees. So we know that this blade is at 90 degrees. We'll zero it, and then we'll go ahead and turn the blade angle until it's 19 degrees. 19 degrees, right on the money. So we know that that is an accurate measurement. So if we need to go back and duplicate that angle, it will be exactly the same. So now we've made the bottom panel cut with the angle, the back panel cut with 2 angles. So now what we'll do is we'll set the saw back up to straight, and I've got the angle for the top piece to go in.
Go ahead and start by attaching the bottom and the baffle together. We like to use a lot of high quality wood glue. When we do an enclosure like this, we want to get 100% coverage. So we try not to be messy, but if you do and you're using wood glue, it's not a big deal. You can always have a wet cloth to wipe up any excess. You want to be sure and get nice coverage even across the joint. So I've got the bottom here, be sure my angle's correct. Take my back plate, or actually my baffle in this case. We're going to attach it using 1.5" staples. So just gently work down the joint. Be sure you keep everything nice and square and true. Then we'll take a paper towel and wipe up any excess. Nice square solid joint. From there we'll use the sides to hold the top in place. I only have 2 arms. So again, we'll have a nice thick bead of glue. Get 100% coverage. The glue is what actually holds the boxes together. A lot of people think maybe it's the staples or it's the screws, but it's the glue that actually bonds the two together. So you want to have a good glue joint. Now that we've got a good start on the construction, we need to cut the angles on the front of this box. So what I'm going to do now is pass it over to Jason, and he can show you a great trick on how to make those angles true every time.